Okay, so I'm going to make a couple of videos about this topic and in most A levels, about measurement of g, which is the lowercase g, so the acceleration of free fall, usually on the planet Earth, but obviously all planets would have their own value of g. So it would be, well, you can think about it as the acceleration during free fall, as in how quickly the velocity changes per second if you were to fall without any air resistance. So that would be, then on Earth, it would be equal to 9.81 meters per second squared. That's the acceleration. But you can also define it as the amount of newtons of force 1 kilogram would feel. So it would be the same number, 9.81, but the unit in that case would be newtons per kilogram. So essentially, and I'll briefly explain why that is the case. In fact, I think it's important to realize why that is the case. So let's flip over to this bit over here, and we'll say that, well, we know that due to Newton's second law, that F is equal to ma, which is often more understood as the rearrangement of A is equal to F over m. So in other words, if I were to apply a force, then the acceleration that something would experience from that force would be equal to the force divided by the mass of that object. So if I pushed a really heavy thing, it would accelerate, but it would accelerate more slowly because it's got a larger mass. So I would be dividing it by a large mass. Likewise, if I push something very light with the same force, it'll accelerate at a greater rate because it's lighter. So that's using the concept of inertia as a definition of mass. So so let's have a look at this then. So acceleration is equal to force divided by mass. Now, the other thing we need to understand is that what is weight? Well, in this case, if something is free falling, that is the force that's causing it to free fall. And weight is always calculated by mass times the gravitational field strength, little g. As I said, little g is defined as, if I rearrange that, for example, we're going to rearrange it back in a moment, but let's just rearrange it to say what a g is equal to. It's equal to the weight, which is symbol W divided by m. So it's going to be the force per. It's going to be the force per mass. Okay, so it's how much force something feels for whatever kilogram. So it's the newtons per kilogram, which is the unit of it earlier on. Remember that on Earth, g is equal to 9.81 newtons per kilogram. Okay, so if that's the force that something is feeling, let's go back to this definition now. We can instead of writing F, you would write mg, and then obviously still divide it by m. And now, as you can see, these m's cancel out, so that's going to go to g. So you can see the acceleration is g, and g is also defined as the weight per mass. Okay, so that'll be the first short video.